In this movie, the third of putting together some complex actions and expressions for our frog, we're going to create one very complex interaction between eyes, eyebrows, mouth, head, body shape. It will all be in one action, knowing that we can go ahead and grab individual parts of that and then use that separately as we work through our animation. When this is completed, I'll go ahead and create some more for our overall animation, but wanted you to see the logic and how we go about that. I've created some basic action sets, the body reference positions, or I should say the reference positions for 3 separate areas. You'll notice that as I cycle through the layers right here, we've got the layers in the lower right-hand corner that says 2 eyes, frog head, and body. They each have their own reference layer when you click on it. If I click off layers or I go to back right leg, there are no available master actions to work with for the reference. So again, diligence is just so important when you're creating these action sets. So when I click on body, if I disclose that, we'll see that I actually have a couple body parts in here. We've got the back body, the hands in the middle, which I didn't create any action sets for or a reference set, the mid body, then of course we have the head. That's got its own set, but then we can come up to, there, that's head reference with head highlighted, and then 2 eyes, and that's where all the eye reference is. So as we make our complex action at this point, we'll go in and make adjustments under each one of these 3 separate folders. So let's go ahead and have our frog, as we did with our little smiley face, let's have it look over here and be a little bit suspect, a little bit worried. We're coming back to the storyboard now where the frog is going to consider crossing the road. And so we want it to be looking left and right. And we'll want it to be looking left and right because there's a bunch of cars coming and we want it to be a little bit nervous about that. So we'll do the first set of looking right. With 2 eyes highlighted, I'll come up to the Actions palette and go ahead and click the New. We're going to name this, and it's going to be a kind of a harmonious naming for all the different layers. We're going to have Look Right Worried. It's going to be the same thing so we can identify it when we're in each one of those, but we're going to tack on eyes so we can always make visual reference that we're working on the correct layer. So eyes, I'm going to abbreviate it, Look Right Worried, and select OK. With that selected right now, we're open for editing. Our timeline has changed colors. I will disclose that layer. We're going to work first on the right eye, and that's the viewer's right, and then we will work on the left eye. So I'll go ahead and select the eyeball. I'm going to go ahead and rotate that, keyboard shortcut R. Let me select all. There's R. I'm going to come up to pupil. I'm going to have to double click on eyes, look right, worried. T for translate. I'm going to go ahead and move that. I can go ahead and scale and distort this a little bit if I want. Keyboard shortcut S for scale, just because it's looking one direction. I'll come up to eyelid. With that selected, come down to eyes right, worried. And notice it looks like the eye flips back, and you may be going, why did it do that? It's because we have the eyelid selected. So T for translate. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down just a little bit, and I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. Keyboard shortcut R. The last thing I'll want to do is work on the eyebrow. So I'll select eyebrow, come back down to eyes, look right, worried, double click on it, and I'm going to raise that up just a little bit. And rotate that just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to move that to the left just a little. I'll go ahead and come back to mainline. That comes back to reference. We can go ahead and explore what that looks like if we want to right now by, let's come up to the very top here for 2 eyes. There we go. So with the top layer, 2 eyes selected, we see our eye now with the eyelid that's moved, the pupil, the eyeball, and the eye brow. When we select any one of these sublayers under two eyes, we'll only see the change or the action for that specific element. So it becomes very important to go ahead and come back and check your work by clicking on the topmost layer. There is no way with the current setup we've got here with these separate subfolders to look at, say, the entire body movement and actions that we're going to be doing in this as I work on it. So if we had a layer where there was a top layer and all the two eyes and everything was underneath it, we could do that. Specifically chose not to build it that way so we can import later on strictly the eyes or strictly the head for other developments in this animation and project cycle here. With that, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this one, style up the rest of these into an action palette. We'll come back and visit it. You'll see them in action, and then we'll go ahead and get ready to move on to the next phase, which is adding the environment and the moving vehicles to our animation before we get into final animation.